I think it's pretty upsetting and pretty worrisome that Vinruki can do a 15-minute video and it's only half of the time that he spent in queue. People are not going to just sit around and play a game like that. It's insane. I think they need to just remake WoW. Like, they just need to remake the game. And they need to do it over the course of like 2 or 3 expansions. I don't think they need to just like flip a switch and the game's different, but they need to have like a hard reset on the game in like almost every single way. There is so much like over design with every class that it is exhausting. There is so much going on. Same devs, same problems. You don't think? Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, right? Yeah, how are they going to fix the problems if they're the ones that made them to begin with? That's a good point.
It's a really interesting conversation. I was talking to Mez about this, okay? So this is like, I went into Mez's stream, and what I like about Mez is he's very intelligent, like really, really smart guy. When I want to challenge my own ideas, I go and talk to Mez because he's very good at playing devil's advocate, and I think he sees things a little bit differently. So I asked him, I went to his stream yesterday, and I asked him, like, hey, Mez, do you think... I was thinking about this. I was like, do you think that there should be more inflation in the game? Like, do you think that there should be more inflation in World of Warcraft when participation is low? And to me, that makes a lot of sense, right? It's like...
Yeah.
It's not, like, if rating isn't going up, people don't feel encouraged to play.
People aren't making any progress, so they just quit.
Like, if you can't actually make any rating gains, it's just like, it's not that fun to play.
Yeah,
and I feel like it's a compounding effect where if you're playing day in, day out, your rating's never going up, it feels like you're making no progress, it becomes a little bit stale. And then when that happens, less people play. Okay, so that's a problem. So what I was thinking is, instead of like inflation being based off just a weekly, everyone gets a little inflation, doesn't actually help that much if people aren't playing. So I was thinking you could have even more inflation if activity is low, to encourage activity. So that was what I was thinking as a possible solution. But I don't know if that will work. Mez had a different thought about it, and he was saying, like, one of the big problems and one of the big challenges right now is people feel like they're making negative progress. Like, the whole rating system doesn't even make sense.
Well, it's because you don't get anything. Like in Shadowlands, you would get, like, in the first season of Shadowlands PvP, where, like, I don't know, 40,000 people got Gladiator or something like that. If you got 2,400, you would get a weapon that was as good as the endgame mythic rating weapon. So, of course, people would want to do that. There's no incentive to do PvP because the gear from PvP is garbage. And because the gear from PvP is garbage, why would anybody want to do it? Because, like, you think back to the times that PvP was really good, and, like, Vanilla WoW, Burning Crusade, like, Wrath was not really... I mean, like, people... I guess Wrath PvP probably was better than BC PvP, but I feel like a lot more people did BC PvP, if that makes sense. I think that if you want to get people to do PvP, you've got to give people rewards for doing it. And if you can get good gear out of it, then you'll do it.
Especially with the way they kind of arbitrarily... Every single season, it feels like Blizzard goes in and arbitrarily inflates numbers, deflates numbers, puts a hard cap on rating. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, there's systems designers there that need to convince Bobby that they still deserve a job. So they have to go around and just rearrange things so it looks like they're working.
Add inflation to 3s, but they don't add it to Solo Shuffle. MMR's capped in Solo Shuffle at 2,200 at the beginning of the season. Like, just little things like that really just limit the progress. In season 1, I don't know if you remember, they're like, yeah, we just decided that ratings got a little bit too high, so we just added no inflation. No inflation for 2.5 months. So what ends up happening in a world like that is people have an expectation of what their skill level is, right?
Yeah.
So if, like, you're a player...
Because, you know, they bought a boost to 2,400, so they should be able to get 2,400.
And maybe you got 2,450 for the first time. Yeah. Like, last season, you got 2,450. You were grinding it out, man. You and your teammate, you guys were going crazy. You got your glad mount. Very exciting. Your expectation in season 2 is that you're going to be able to get that mount again.
Yeah,
but it's not true. All of a sudden, inflation is way lowered. Participation may be a little bit lower. And now instead of grinding glad with the boys, getting your 2,450, sweating it out throughout the season, you finally get it. Great. Now you're hard stuck 2K. Your same partners, you're hard stuck 2K. And it's not exactly clear why, right? It's like, do we just suck now? Is our comp bad? Like, what the hell's going on? And I feel like that situation is very discouraging for people. You know what I mean? It's very discouraging for people where you're essentially making negative progress every season that goes by. Every single season, your progress resets, and it doesn't feel good. And that's why, like,
I think that's kind of true. It's like, I do think that the biggest reason why it happened is because, number one, well, actually, like, with Dragonfight, the Gladiator mounts are really cool. They look awesome. But the thing is, like, stop playing if you don't like it. Well, this whole video is about people stop playing. Like, the whole video is about that, right? And that's the issue, is that people get bored of the game because they're playing, they're not making any progress, they're not getting anything out of PvP, they're not, like, gaining an advantage, they're not getting better gear, they're not getting better rating, they're just playing it for the sake of playing it, and eventually people get bored with playing it. It's just that simple, really.
That's why, like, you'll go into trade chat and you'll be looking for teammates, and people will be literally 1,700, and they'll be like, yeah. 2,900 experience, Holy Paladin, looking for games. You know what I mean? It's just like, even though the relevant experience is like 1,850 or something like that, you know what I mean? It just becomes really, really weird. So I feel like there's a couple different solutions you could have to this. One of the solutions he was saying, which I thought was really interesting, and I've never heard anybody say before, so I'm curious what your thoughts are. One of the experiences, or one...
Y'all remember that trinket? Remember this shit? Remember, like, you would swap it on in Mythic Plus, and you would, like, do an AoE pull, and just fucking shred the meters? Oh my god, that shit was fun.
One of the things he was saying is, what they should do is every season...
Big numbers.
Rating just keeps going up.
Yeah.
So, like, forget the 1,500 to 3K range. Okay? Like, maybe that's the first season. Like, the first season, you go from 1,500 to 3K. And then the next season, in season 2, everybody starts at 3K. Like, 3K is the new 0.
I don't think they should do that, personally. I don't think so. I think that starting it at 0, like, that, there's no other game that does MMR like that, as far as I know. Like, most of the time, there are seasonal resets of MMR. Because, like, if they had done that the whole time, you have to have, like, stat squishes for that. Like, it means that the number doesn't mean the same thing. It's just, like... I think the problem is that, like, people still do classic WoW Battlegrounds. The problem is that the gameplay sucks. And if the gameplay sucks, then people aren't going to play the game. So people would play classic WoW all the time and do PvP all the time, same as like Burning Crusade. Now, why would people do that? They would do it back then so they could flex on the nubs. You could get really good gear, and this is the same thing like BFA, the end of BFA. Bro, people did PvP all the time. Why? Because they could use their corruption gear and flex on the nubs. And that's what people want to do in an MMO. Like, in my opinion, I think that any MMO that tries to actually have a serious PvP scene is doing itself a disservice. And I think that in the process of that, it does the serious PvPers in the community a disservice. Because the best thing for people in a big community, the best thing for people that want to be professional players or anything like that, the best thing for them is to have a large audience. And the fact is that nobody's going to give a fuck about PvP if it's hyper balanced, because anybody that wants to care about that is already playing another PvP game that is even better balanced than whatever an MMO PvP could possibly ever have. So that's what it is. That's the problem, is that, like, you should make it, like, I think in MMO PvP, better gear, bigger number, better person, better player. That's it. That's the only thing they need to do. Papa John's. Well, not Papa John's, because that actually... Well, Papa John's does have a lot to do with a lot of WoW PvPers, but not in that way. The fact is that I just think that they have to spend more time trying to make it fun to play.
You know what I mean? So this is one approach that they could do. So 3K is the new 0, and then basically it just progresses out throughout the seasons, throughout the expansions.
I can see what he's saying,
you could do percentile-based rewards, or you could just scale them up if you really wanted to. But I think percentile-based rewards are not a bad idea.
I'm not a fan of percent-based rewards. The reason why is because a lot of people have like 5 characters. So it makes the percentage that you're actually working towards artificially harder, because multiple characters are taking up percentages on the ladder. Like, if most people that are playing at like a rank 1 rating have like 3 alts or something like that, or 2 alts, well, all of those alts are going to make it even harder to actually get into that ladder. That's why I thought it was a good decision for them to move it over to 2400. How does it work when every class is different? So easy to make a PvP game where everybody is the same from 0. You have 12 classes. Well, it's never going to be balanced, right? That's the thing.
I think Bez and I both agreed that an ideal situation would be that they just completely change the ranking system entirely. Similar to how like a lot of other games do it.
Nothing is nothing that will not change anything. Like, if you call it like bronze and gold instead of like challenger and duelist, it's still going to be the same problem. If you change the numbers, it's still going to be the same problem. The issue is the game.
Similar to how a lot of other games do it, where you're not going from, 1500 to 3K rating, just an arbitrary number. You're actually going and working through the ranks. Like, we all start at copper, make our way through, and they could name it whatever they want. They all start at copper. Yeah. We work our way through copper. Once you graduate from copper, you're in silver, or you're in bronze. You work your way through bronze. Once you graduate from bronze, you make it to silver. Once you make it through silver, you go to gold, etc., etc., etc.
I don't think that would make any difference. If you want me to be totally honest, I don't think that would even make a slight difference. Because you can still downrank in those games too. And also, the problem is that there isn't a big enough PvP community for that rank to matter. And that's the big issue. It's that people that play the game a lot don't have other people that they can flex on that care. That is the most important thing in an MMO. It's to be able to be good at the game and have other people acknowledge that you are good at the game. And whenever nobody cares about PvP, then there's no reason to try to achieve something in it.
It sounds like you want to trick the player base into thinking they're gaining more progress than they are currently. Well, currently they're making no progress. It's not about tricking people. It's not about tricking people. It's just from a psychological standpoint, and also just from a gameplay standpoint, it's just not fun when you can't get any rewards. Like, if in certain seasons you're getting rewards.
I don't think a name is a reward. That's the problem. Is like the reward, you should be able to get better gear. Like, the gear from being a gladiator should be better than the gear from doing mythic plus 15s. And like your weekly cash. Like, even doing a plus 20 is a joke compared to being a gladiator in WoW. But you get worse gear for being gladiator. Okay, so then that's a big reason not to do it. Because you're not being rewarded for playing the game and doing hard content. Like, at the beginning of Shadowlands, the gladiator gear was as good as the mythic rating gear. And guess what? Everybody played PvP. In the beginning of BFA, the gladiator gear was as good, and in fact sometimes better because of the Azurite traits, than the rating gear. And guess what? Everybody did PvP. So if you, in vanilla WoW, the fucking warrior gear, for example, is best in slot. I think the 2-piece is best in slot even into Nax. Because it gives like you the 20 stamina bonus or something like that. Like the boots and shit like that, or the shoulders. Like, that's good until AQ for sure. So like, you're going to do it for that. PvEers complained hard, insanely hard though. Okay, then well, that's fine, right? I mean, if they complain about it, then they don't have to do it. Fuck them, yeah, fuck them. Like, that's just the way it is.
Your gladiator. You know, in the past, it wasn't that you're entitled to your gladiator mount, but I feel like it's just taking too long. It takes too long. I guess they want to make it like an end of season reward, but I feel like Blizzard, they opened up Pandora's box with Shadowlands, and I don't think we can go back. I don't think you can make Glad so easy in Shadowlands, and then not even so easy. I shouldn't say it's so easy. It's easier than it was, but
I feel like Gladiator in Shadowlands was just about as hard as it was in BFA. Like, I feel like it was pretty much the same. Honestly, I felt like it might have been even easier in BFA.
I don't think you can just like give, you know, your hardcore player base Glad mount, you know, fairly, not easily, but, you know, it's not the hardest thing in the world, and then take it away. and make it way, it's way more accessible in Shadowlands for every season. And then
he's right about this. It's bad. Like, any time that a game gives you something and then it takes it away, people are always going to maul over that. And they're never going to feel good about having something and then having it removed. It's kind of like, for example, like in Diablo 4, like that auto cast for like corpse tendrils and like corpse explosion and shit like that. Bro, if they ever take that out of the game, I am never playing Necro again.
To make it infinitely harder in Dragonflight for no reason.
You know what PoE I mean? Harvest. Think about that.
I just feel like it's a big pill for the community to swallow. But I do feel like the ranking system in general just needs to completely change. The pillars of creation. And I also I think there needs to be, like, in terms of like rankings, there should be like protection. Because right now I feel like I'm sure we've all had this experience. Like, it happened to me today. I was 2200 on my rep paladin, and I joined a lobby and I had a 0 rated disc priest healing me, literally 0. And I get frustrated. It's like, oh man, I died. That guy had to both charges of pain sup and swap. But this guy's
the problem of why rating matters is because people won't play with you unless you have high rating. Rating would matter less if it didn't have a direct impact on your ability to find groups and play with other people. That's why people care about losing rating in other games, but people care way more about losing rating in WoW. Why do they care way more? They care way more because they get punished way more. Again, like, it's the same thing I said about Lost Ark, is if you punish people for doing something wrong, the harder you punish people, the harder people will work to not get punished. It's just common sense. Like, people don't want to go and lose rating because if they lose rating, then they're going to, they're not going to be able to find groups. So then people never want to invite somebody who's new or somebody who's not, like, quite up to par, because if they do that, then that person might make them lose rating. And then if they lose rating, well, then they don't get groups now. You see what I'm saying?
Never played before. Of course he's going to make mistakes. Why is he healing at 2200 lobby? I know the queue times suck, but, like, that's crazy, man. This guy has 0 games played, no experience on disc, and he's healing a 2200 lobby. I mean, 2200 isn't the highest, but it's also not low, right? Like,
well, it's because nobody's playing the game. That's why. That's the problem. And nobody's playing the game because the game is impossible to understand. That's the problem. So if you make the game easier to understand and more approachable, then you're going to have people that are able to approach it. That's just how it is. Plus, it's not really fun anymore. I don't know. I feel like WoW PvP and, like, WoW as a game fundamentally is a pretty good game. I think Classic is probably better, but, like, even retail WoW, it feels like a good game. Whenever you do PvP and things are going well, sure. But the problem is that there's just so many... It's just like... There's so many cock blocks in the game. There's so many little things going on. So many, like, CCs and stuff like that. It's nuts.
And then everyone, yeah, exactly. Everybody shit talks him. Everybody flames him. But the truth is, it's like, I mean, what are you supposed to do? So, anyways, that's what I was going to talk about, like the rank thing. I feel like you could have, like, protection for people where...
Somebody
like,
says I played retail and I got overwhelmed by the amount of content and stopped. Well, just get ready to get debuffs. Like, look, there's so many fucking debuffs and things happening in the game, and I think this is what the problem is, right? Is that I think this is a big issue with WoW. Is that a lot of the people that work on WoW used to be former super competitive players. So guess who they're friends with? Other super competitive players. So you have these people that are former super like serious players themselves, and they're talking to other people that are super serious players. So they're making decisions for super serious players, like getting rid of the AoE, like having the AoE cap, I mean. Like, what the fuck? So, like, you're just continuously getting an echo chamber of people that only want to make the game, like hyper complex. They don't see the problem of like why new people don't come into the game. Because isn't it sad that this is like the third or fourth Renruki video that we've watched? And do you want to know why he records these videos? Because there's nothing else to fucking do while he's sitting in the queue. Look at that. Time in queue, 26 minutes. Let's see if he's going to get a game. At the very end, he'll get a game. It will only take about 32 minutes.
Like if you're copper, you know, if you're
What
rank
the
1,
fuck?
let's say, like rank 1 being the lowest, you can only play against people that are like rank 2 and maybe rank 3. You know what I mean? You can only play against people that are like rank 2 and maybe rank 3.
Sitting 2-hour RBG queues.
It does become a little bit complicated.
Well, it's like RBG queues are a great example. Why does nobody want to queue RBGs? Because they're really hard to get a group for. Like getting 10 people together is brutal.
Like, I don't think it's a perfect system. And I said this yesterday, like, it's just like the solo shuffle queues right now. Like, I'm sure there is a solution to the solo shuffle queues. I don't want to...
The solution is get more people to play. That's the solution. Because, like, whenever there aren't people queuing up and playing, then you can't do anything. You can't just invent players. I mean, you can, but, like, that's going to be obvious. 5 years ago, wasn't the problem that everyone was complaining about WoW was catering to casuals? Now they've shifted away from that. We're still complaining. That's because, like, casual players, like, whenever you're talking about, like, what is a casual player, I don't think it's like being a hardcore player is wanting 3 rows of debuffs. I don't think that, like, the more hardcore you are, the more debuffs you want. Well, the really hardcore players have 17 add-ons and casuals only have 3. No, it's just, like, unnecessary complexity in a game. It doesn't make you a good player or a hardcore player or something like that because you like that kind of stuff. It's just bad. Like, here's a great example of, like, bloat that doesn't need to exist in WoW for PvP. Hex and Polymorph. They should be the same fucking thing. Fear and Horrify. They should be the same fucking thing. What are we doing that there are 2 things that have the exact same function, but they are technically different? They do different things, though? But functionally, they really don't. I understand they do different things, and Horrify actually doesn't. Horrify doesn't do anything different than Fear.
Pretend that I have all the answers, because I certainly don't.
The Polymorph is magic. Hex is a curse. Poly is magic. That's the point. That is like an unnecessary level of complexity that just makes the game worse. I know that. And also, like, so you want the differences? So you can move your character around while you're hexed as well. Like, if you get hexed by a shaman, you can move your character around and you do not lose control of your character. You just lose control of the faculties or the facilities of your character. On top of that, it is a curse as well. On top of that, it does not break on instantaneous damage. It breaks on damage over time. Also, with Fear and Horrify, Fear is generally much shorter. It has a DR with Fear. Horrify is shorter, but it has a DR with Fear. Horrify, as far as I know, also does not break on damage, whereas Fear does break on damage. And Horrify is not dispellable in a lot of cases, whereas Fear is. So, yes, I understand that there is a difference. However, it is bloated and it adds no value to the game. The game would be better if it didn't exist. It's that simple.
A lot of these problems are complicated.
Intimidating shout, too.
And a lot of these problems have pros and cons.
That's just a fear.
But I'm also, like, I'm not paid to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not my job to figure it out. All I know is 30, 40-minute queues for solo shuffle are totally unacceptable. Right?
Of course.
Like, you can't have the majority of the player base wanting to play DPS and then also sitting 30, 40-minute queues. I don't know what they need to do to fix it, but they gotta do it. Like, it's a huge reason why people don't want to play. Like, they made solo shuffle the main game mode, and...
Well, they didn't make it the main game mode. The players did, because people liked not having to deal with 2 other people in order to play the game. It's that simple.
Few times are 30, 40 minutes. It's just not, it's not feasible. No one's going to do that, right? So it's like, there's a bunch of problems, and I know I sit here and I talk about the problems. At the end of the day, the reason why I bring this up is because I love World of Warcraft. I love playing World of Warcraft. I actually enjoy, for the most part, I enjoy logging on and playing every single day. I actually think the gameplay is really fun. but it's the side systems, like it's the MMR, it's the ranking, it's the rewards that are not good. Like gameplay is actually good. Big kudos to the developers because I feel like they've done a really good job. No, it's not perfect, but balance is at least like pretty good. You can pretty much log on anything and play, and it's fun, and yeah. So that part is good. The major issues that we face.
I think there's just too many buttons in the game. There's too many buttons. There's too much shit going on. Nobody's gonna start playing this fucking game if they have no idea what the hell's happening. There's too much. It's just too much. People aren't coming back to playing WoW because it's exhausting to play. To have to keep up with all that shit. Rotations are too much effort. Yes, and it's just like you have your... Now there's also PvP talents as well. Why the fuck do we need PvP talents as well? Everybody playing Classic because of simple as fuck? Yes. It's simple. It's easy to understand. It's intuitive.
With World of Warcraft right now, or that there's not enough healers, so I don't know what they got to do about that. Rewards are low. Activity is also really, really low.
Do you want to know why there's not any healers? Because healers don't like sitting around spamming instant cast spells that have no skill expression when they're getting CC'd 7 different ways by 2 different guys, and the 2 guys on their team aren't helping them. That's why. That's why there's no healers. It's not fun. And then whenever they die, the 2 other people say they're garbage because they didn't heal them.
And I think...
Again, it's a CC and bloat. 7 different CCs with 1 CC break? Yeah, exactly.
A lot of that just comes from how long it takes for inflation to kind of ramp up. Like, it still feels like we're just so low on ratings. And yeah, I think I forget who said this. Maybe it's Halinka. Like, we can't just sprinkle a little rating on it or something like that. And maybe it's way more complicated than I understand, but I hope...
Well, if they understood what the problem was, then they would fix it. I don't trust the developers to understand shit about the game. Because if they understood the game, we wouldn't be watching this video. He wouldn't be sitting in a queue for 30 minutes playing the game. So what the fuck do they know?
At least in the future, there's like some new systems being worked on.
Obviously didn't work.
Yeah. Also, I mean, personally, I would love to see... Born Good was saying this. He's like, Arena is amazing. Arena is fun, but there needs to be a new challenge. You know what I mean? Solo Shuffle is obviously the new thing this expansion, but it'd be really cool if they added, you know, some solo queue BGs that had rating on it and rewards and stuff like that. Like, I don't know.
People wouldn't do them. Like, it's gonna have the same problem. It's like if you try to grow a plant and the dirt you're using is actually sand, and you're not growing a cactus, you're just trying to grow a normal tree, you're probably gonna have a bad time. Because plants don't grow in sand like that. So it doesn't matter if you change the seed. It's like, oh, well, let's try this other plant. Let's water it differently. Well, it doesn't matter. Because the same problem is going to happen.
Just something.
No, wouldn't BGs are easier to understand? BGs are definitely easier to understand, but at the same time, it's still having to understand your entire character.
Something else to do. What sort of PvP mode that's a little bit different would be nice. But the only reason I constantly bring this shit up is because I love the game and I just want it to be as good as possible. I want people to play. I don't, it's not fun. Like, I'll give you, this is something that happened to me yesterday, okay? Here's a little story. Yesterday I was,
Somebody asked me how I would make it. I would have like a quota, and I would tell people you have to delete 10 abilities from every single class. From every single class. I would go through every boss fight. I would say you have to delete half of the mechanics out of this boss fight, and I would go to the add-ons, and I would say you have to delete every single add-on. No add-ons in the game at all, period, for any reason. Get rid of all the add-ons, make everybody play on an even playing field, remove these hyper complex raids that are designed for people that are using 7 add-ons, 3 inputs, 2 keybinds, a Discord coach, and a fucking weak aura tracker. Get rid of that. Completely get rid of it. And make the game fun. Like, have a quota. in Mythic Plus. Each trash mob, unless it's like a one individual pull trash mob, like mini boss, can only do one ability. I don't want to have to learn a fucking boss rotation for a trash pack. It's exhausting. Back in Legion, you used to just pull a lot of mobs and AoE them the fuck down. And it was awesome. It was awesome at the beginning, and it was awesome at the end. And it was sad when it went away.
I was home. I had finished everything, so I got all my... I streamed. I went to the...
Yeah, remove 2 raid difficulties, too. Yep, just have normal and heroic. Make heroic a bit harder, make normal a bit easier. Problem solved. Let's see, what else would I do? I would standardize all of the CC in the game, and I would make it to where all CC DR'd with all other CC. So if you get polymorphed and then you get stunned, the polymorph DRs the stun. Completely. I think fundamentally being CC'd isn't fun. So not being able to play your character for like 15 seconds every 18 seconds, this is just not a good time. It's fucking stupid. What are we even doing? So there would be that. I would change that. Didn't we ask for more class abilities 3 years ago because in BFA because classes were pruned? I thought classes were fine in BFA. I thought they were fine in Legion. And I even... Do you remember me saying that I thought that they needed to do the prune in WoD? I was sad that they got rid of certain abilities. Yeah, sure. Like, I wish they had done the prune differently, but I thought it was a good decision. They had to do this. So you're saying you want the full game to feel like LFR sounds dead as fuck? Well, you know what sounds dead as fuck? Time in queue 29 minutes, 57 seconds. That's what it says right there. That's dead as fuck. Can't get worse than that, huh? Current game is dead as fuck. Prune was horrible. Arms Warrior was a perfect example. The prune was horrible, but Legion was an outcome of the prune. And also the prune was because Blizzard just kept adding more abilities into the game over and over and over in Mists of Pandaria. Mists of Pandaria had this same problem.
Gym, I made dinner, I watched a little show. I was just chilling. You know, I was like, you know what? I might go play some Wrath. I was like, I feel like playing Wrath a little bit, you know? So I logged on Wrath the Lich King and I joined LFG. Okay? And I looked at what groups were listed for 2v2 and 3v3. There was 4 listings total in all of North America, at least on Horde. There was 4 listings total for doing 2s or 3s. 4. 3 of them were boosts. And one of them was like some 1k rated paladin, which, I mean, maybe I should have played with them.
Hey.
But it's like, how... people, like, even if you want to play the game, it's really hard to. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really sure.
I mean, that's just how it is. Like, it's not a surprise at all. Like, people don't give a shit about Wrath. Like, it of course.
Talk to a lot of casual players. The new game mode is the savior we're looking for. Definitely, yeah.
A new game mode's not going to have anything.
Isn't content, it's how the game is ruined by, these days by boosters. Yeah, I mean...
It doesn't have any problems with the game. It has nothing to do with boosters at all. I don't think so. I think boosters are just a symptom of the problem. And there was boosting in Classic WoW. There was boosting in Burning Crusade, like Classic. Like, the boosting is just not going to go away because that's just how gaming is. Like, people do boosting in, like, League even. Like, every game has boosters. Do you want to know why it's problematic? It's because people can buy gold. Like, boosting is bad, but why is boosting bad? Boosting's bad because people can buy gold and buy boosts.
Boosters are definitely a problem.
Like, I would say most of the people that are buying, like, ahead of the curve and stuff like that are probably just buying a WoW token. Like, that's why every single time that there's, like, ahead of the curve, it's the same price as a WoW token.
Problem. 100%. I don't really know what exactly you do about boosters, though, because
boosting is a symptom.
A lot of people that are doing boosts these days, they're doing self-plays, right?
Yeah.
It's a really difficult thing to prove that somebody is, you know, being paid to boost. Even though it's entirely obvious. You can't, you know what I mean? If people are leveling up their own characters, playing their own characters, blah, 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 blah. I really don't think that boosting is the main problem, though.
Has nothing to do with it.
I think boosting feels so bad as a symptom of a much bigger problem.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yes.
I don't even know. Don't we have a new patch coming, right? What is the new patch coming on Tuesday? Is there anything like I want to be hype about this patch? Is there anything? The only thing I know is that Mistweavers are getting Manatee, which is kind of nice. There's like some world content, I guess. Do we have a? Can you guys link me it? I'd like to look through it actually, if you guys don't mind. Oh, there's a ping system. The ping system is actually cool, and I think there's potential there.
Oh yeah.
Pings will be toxic. Well, I mean, you could disable it if you don't like the pings. You could just disable it. I do feel like it'll be useful though, if you're not being toxic. Is this gonna kill me? I don't even know. Opens up a lot of opportunities. Yeah, imagine for like a battleground system if you could ping. Like, I think pinging in battlegrounds could be really, really cool. That kind of communication is really, really important. All right, we can take a look at the new patch. All right, patch 10.17 is a minor patch.
Yeah, it's just like, here's the thing. The problem is like the core gameplay. It is the core gameplay. And whenever the core gameplay is problematic, you can't solve that by adding a new system, because people interface with the new system through the gameplay. It's like, think of it as like a window, and the window is your class, and it's the way that you play the game. And if you have somebody that spray paints over the window and you can't see through the window, it doesn't matter what's on the other side of the window, because you can't fucking see it. You never get there. And that's the situation that WoW has. Is the gameplay is exhausting. It is exhausting. Like, what the fuck is going on? There's so many things happening at the same time. Like 15 years of bloat. At least since WoD. There's too much stuff going on. It's too much for the average gamer. It is. Like, that's why like Classic is doing so well. Boosting is whatever. Boosting doesn't matter. Boosting is like, there's always going to be boosting. Like, what do you, like, it's just like, what the fuck are you getting mad about that for? Like, there's like 50 other things that are worse than that.
So no new raid or season. This patch includes new public events, heritage armor for Night Elves and Forsaken, new character customization, including Menari Eridar.
That's the red ones.
So we have Red Draenei, Augurs. John of the Infinite.
Like, that doesn't even make sense, right? The Menari Eridar, like, I thought that Red Eridar were the ones that followed, like, Sargeras. Like, what the fuck? Like, and kill Jaden. Like, how the fuck are... Yeah, they're evil. That's why they're red. Like, obviously. Like, how the fuck... Like, how... Yeah, they're corrupted ones. What the fuck? There's gonna be a quest? Of course.
Difficulty. Okay. New quests, Reforging Tier and more, Holiday Refresh, Brewfest and Hollow's End, Dragon Riding, Challenges, Courses and more. A new ping system and open world transmog Lost to Cataclysm are introduced.
Lovely.
So there's certain items that are going to be brought back from Cataclysm. That's kind of cool.
That's nice.
Where's the PvP news? I don't think there is any. Although I will say that the Heritage armor looks really, really good. I feel like the Undead Heritage armor looks fucking sick.
Yeah,
I want to get that. I like want to go Undead just to get this. All right, so this is the new ping system that we got going on here. We got attack, assist, warning, and on my way. That's kind of cool. Got a few class changes. They did some Manatee stuff and something for Resto Druid. I don't really know exactly what's going on with Resto Druid. They got some new skin tones.
Thank
some
God.
new Night Elf skin tones. They got like a new Explorer set. That's kind of cool. New mounts. Nice. All right, seems like a decent patch. Nothing really for PvP, but yeah, that'll be interesting. Anyways, that's my talk. Hope you enjoyed. What are your thoughts? Think we need a new system, or what do you think? What do you think?
I think it's pretty upsetting and pretty worrisome that Vinruki can do a 15-minute video, and it's only half of the time that he spent in queue. I'll link you guys the video. Vinruki is like, he's cared about WoW PvP forever. I'm sad to see. I'm sad to see Blizzard not taking the actions that I believe they should take.